right.
Come on, baby. Let's do the twist. Come on, baby. Let's do the twist. Take me by my little hand and go like this. Yeah, twist. Baby, twist. Ooh, yeah. Just like this. Come on, little miss, and do the twist.
Welcome to last week of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. I'm here with Seminole Bob. This is Irish Bill, and as you can see, we're both wearing black.
Yeah.
Why are we wearing black, Bob?
We're in mourning.
Why were you in mourning?
We lost.
Well, yeah, we lost last Friday night. And
Yeah.
Joe, are you wearing black tonight? Because Joe just checked. Joe Settle just checked in. His Eagles took it on the chin at home as well.
Mercy. Yeah.
And we're going to call all the games. We're going to pick most of the games that we got coming up this Friday. But this Irish Bill's Twist on Sports with Seminole Bob. We're in the last show of the 2022 season. We were hoping to be here at least here a couple more weeks, but fortune didn't go our way. And,
Didn't smile our way.
And the Raiders got beat by the better team Friday night, didn't they?
Most certainly. Raiders didn't help themselves, but that's the way the ball bounces.
Joe says Pickmaster's checking in. He's been getting a little cocky lately, hasn't he?
Well, he backs it up.
He has. After that first week of the high school games, he has kind of tore us a new one over the 22 season, and
Yep.
we'll get over our picks in a little bit. But we're going to break down the. But first, I have a disclaimer. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I had mentioned that Coach Walls had attained his 200th victory. But as Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friend. He texted me last night. He said, Bill, I heard you posted something about my 200th win. He goes, you're off a couple. So I said, I went back and did some research. And Coach Walls, I dare not question Coach Walls. But I went back and did some research. And at Sewanee, he was 59-37 in his 8 years there. He had one state runner-up. Then he got hired away to Tift County, Georgia, where he's 44-34 over 7 years, and that was from 2005 to 2011. And then he came over to Navarre in 2012. Still here, 11 years later, 9 playoff appearances, 95-29. So overall, he is 198-100. So next year, he will achieve his 200th win and his 300th game.
Okay, yeah.
So hopefully in 2 games. We'll play the first 2 games, we'll win both of them, and we'll get it all the way for the rest of the season. It'll just be one big celebration.
That's it.
Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
So he's 26 years as a head coach, 18 playoff appearances in those 26 years, pretty solid. He's had 3 state semifinals, a state runner-up, and doing a pretty darn good job. He got his start over at, he was a graduate assistant at Valdosta State. And then he got his first high school job just down up the road here in Crestview, coaching as an assistant coach for one former Raider coach, Larry Olson. So congratulations. We'll get you there, Coach. We'll get you a couple more wins, and we'll get into that 200-win mark. But let's go over the games first before we get into the Raider breakdown of last week's game against Creekside. Gosh, what an offense they had.
Yeah, absolutely. The sophomore quarterback was tremendous. Kind of reminded me of the kid from Buchholz, also a sophomore a couple of years back that eliminated us. But, at times we helped them a little bit.
We did, but congratulations goes out
certainly.
to Creekside. Their staff was very welcoming. Not welcoming. They were very appreciative of Coach Jay Walls and his staff there at Navarre.
Yep.
And they said that they really appreciated Coach Walls and everything that was done for them in their visit, their lopsided visit last week.
Yep, they left 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, I guess,
Correct.
from outside of Jacksonville and made the trek west. That's a long day.
Yeah, they stopped
When you
at
turn
stopped
around.
at Tallahassee. Got to work out at Florida State's indoor practice field.
Oh,
They did
wow.
they did their walkthrough over there at the,
Cool.
inside in the nice, comfy confines of the Florida State indoor practice facility, most definitely. And then they came on over. They went up the street to Pace and had some good barbecue. And they came down and kind of took us out to the woodshed. But let's get over the games from last Friday night. Class 4S, Region 1, Bartram Trail. They were down at the half. In fact, Flagler Palm Coast scored the first 14 points of this ball game. They were up 14-0, and then Bartram Trail says, "Stop right there. We're going to throw 50 at you." And that's your final score, 50-14. Crestview knocks off Niceville on the road, 26-21. Buchholz over Pace as they go for two in the win with 40 seconds left on the clock, 35-34. And we've mentioned our score, Creekside 47, Navarre 20. Over in Class 3S, kind of went as scheduled, except for our last game. We'll get to that one here in a second. Pine Forest over Rickards, 35-15. Escambia over Middleburg, 42-18. Columbia over Lincoln, 29-6. And Choctaw falls behind by 22 in the third quarter on the road and comes back and wins over St. Augustine. A tough place to play, 42-35. What a great win for Coach Frank Beasley and the Indians of Choctaw High.
Yep. No, that's not St. Augustine Nice, is it?
No, that's Ponte Vedra. His
Okay.
niece.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have two high schools in Ponte Vedra. You have Ponte Vedra and then you have Ponte Vedra Nice, where Tim Tebow played.
Right.
Over in Class 2S Region 1, a shootout. Florida High over at South Walton, 63-44. Sewanee really playing some great football right now. They took out Walton 39-15. West Florida shuts out Bay as they played their starters in the first half, and all their starters sat in the second half in a 35-0 win over Bay. And Pensacola Catholic in a much wider spread than I thought it would be over Wakulla, 45-21. And in Class 1R, Region 1, Baker over Bozeman, 33-14. Holmes County over Freeport, 49-20. In Region 2, Bluntstown, 42-0 over Weewa. And Cottondale knocks off Osceola Christian, the higher seed in that one, 54-40. And over in Region 3, Madison County takes out Fort White, 36-0. So we got a lot of games, and we'll get to those in just a little while. And first, we're going to talk about last Friday night's game. Our Ian Lockwood player of the game from Creekside, Sean Oschenfelder. Southmore quarterback had one heck of a night, 280 yards passing, 120 rushing. Nicky Williams, our offensive player of the game from Creekside, 235 yards rushing. Our defensive player of the game, we went with the D-line of Navarre, Keona Moso, Dom Cunningham, and Max Smith. And our special teams player of the game goes to Ronald Darren from Creekside. 4 for 4 on field goals and 5 for 5 on extra points. That's a 17-point night for that kicker. That's a pretty
Yep.
good night.
Yep, sure is.
Almost, if they didn't have the stats above, he might have been our Ian Lockwood player of the game. But this is how that scoring got started in the first quarter at the 6:22 mark, the 21-yard pass from Oschenfelder to Hampton Rydell. Darren Jada, the kick, 7-0. Creekside, 2:58, Darren Jada from 30 yards out. We finished 10-0 Creekside. They stretch it out to 24 on a 2-yard run by Oschenfelder and a 49-yard run by Oschenfelder at the 5:29 mark. So quickly 24-0. Navarre would answer with their first score, a 2-yard run by E.J. Love. Taylor Gardner's kick was good, but it didn't take long. 24 seconds later, a 66-yard run by Nicky Williams. Darren Jada kick, and it's quickly 31-7. At 2:48, the Raiders get on the board. A 42-yard pass from Hunter Feaster to Terrence Marshall. Kick no good. 31-13 at that time. The Raiders would answer one more time at 1:18. A 10-yard run by E.J. Love. Tyler Daniel with the kick. 31-20. The Raiders were hoping to keep it right there, but Mr. Derajada decided he wanted to add on another 40-yard field goal. So it's 34-20 at the half. Raiders within 2 scores at the half.
Yep.
Still in the ball game.
Thought so, yeah. And they received. No, they did not receive the second half kickoff. Creekside did.
And it didn't take them long as they moved down the field, I believe, in 3 plays. And it finished off with a 2-yard Ashenfelder run, his third touchdown of the night. The kick was good. Of course, it's good with that young man. Then they would add a 42-yard field goal at 5:38. And the only scoring of the fourth quarter was a 28-yard field goal for your final margin of 47-20. Hunter Feaster finished with his best yards on the night on 309 yards, 20 of 40 passing, the most attempts and completions on the season. A touchdown, but 2 big picks that
Right.
Creekside took advantage of all 3 of Navarre's turnovers on the night.
Yeah, I mean it's some relief, some solace that we did hold them to field goals instead of touchdowns. But then your offense needs to make a statement from that, and it just didn't happen, and it just wasn't in the cards that night for Navarre. And give Creekside's defense. They slowed EJ. They took advantage of our predictability. But, I mean, early in the season, teams couldn't stop BJ. They knew it was coming, but when you get to the second half of the season and teams have seen you and teams have, scouted you, etc., and you're playing district foes and you're playing, teams that aren't in your district like Niceville, you're going to be taking on some stout defenses.
Most definitely. The receiving core, Jaden Reese with 8 receptions for 146 yards, and Terrence Marshall 6 receptions for 111. 2 guys over 100, but it was not enough. And Navarre running game, another 100-yard game for EJ, 14 carries, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, finished a fine sophomore season. And Navarre's special teams, great returns this year, but got to the point where they were too good and teams started kicking away from.
Or doing other things like Golf Breeze did, pooching it and the like.
Or just kicking it in the back end of the end zone.
Yeah, kicking it through the end zone, right.
But your Navarre's defense was led by Dwayne Clark. Played the last game. What a great game. 12 tackles for Dwayne, 10 tackles for Dante Core, Andre Spence with 9, Keona Moso with 8, C.J. Hill and Joshua Wilson with 7 tackles, Trey Bragg with 6, Connor Black 6 as well, Isaac Cole and Dom Cunningham with 5 tackles each, Landon Metzler, Max Smith with 4, Jonathan Brogan, Chase March with 3 each, and 1 tackle each from Jacob Herrera, Jack Briley, and Fuller Judkins. So what a lot of people forget into this Raiders season, there was a lot of underclassmen playing for the Raiders this year.
Yep, absolutely. And injuries took a toll early part of the year. You often wonder if we had Philip Robas, another wideout, a possession receiver, a slot receiver.
I believe he went out in like week 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then Xavier Hamilton, week 4 or 5 went out. So you lost 2 really good players, but as Coach Wall always says, next man up. It just wasn't enough when it came down at the very end. And can't argue with the 8-3 season. Most teams would take that every year.
Most certainly. And you look at the rest of our district, got to be a disappointing campaign for Golf Breeze. You started out fast and did not make the playoffs. And there was another team. Well, Milton. We thought Milton would make a bang and would press Golf Breeze and Navarre and just make a tremendous district, but it just didn't happen for Milton this year. So Navarre's got a lot to be proud of. A district championship, like Bill said, an 8-2 season. Not what I had thought, maybe 6-4, 5-5. it just
with a young class. That's why I was expecting
Yeah.
maybe 7-3 at best. But
Right.
we're pretty pleased with the 8-3 season. I know the young men are disappointed that they're not playing again
Right.
this week, but you can't hang your heads low. An excellent season for our young Raiders.
most definitely, and you hate to see some of these seniors go. I just hope to gosh that a kid like Jaden Reese gets picked up.
You can see quite a few of these guys. Jaden Reese playing somewhere. Keona Mosa, most definitely. Ethan Newman, one of our big bubbas. He'll definitely be playing somewhere. You got some talented young men there in that senior class, and I'm sure that they'll be playing somewhere next year. And if they are, I'll track them down, and we'll keep track of them as they go through their college career.
And Jaden, they do have all-star games, don't they?
That's correct. They have the Subway All-Star Game over in Pensacola.
Uh-huh.
Usually played at Blue Wahoo Stadium, but I don't know if they'll play it there this year
I don't
or if
know.
they'll move it out to UWF.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Speaking of UWF, they got a big game this week. They
Yep.
host their first ever playoff
campus,
game at home on campus.
On campus.
Pete Shinnick, you just can't say enough about him, can you?
No, it's just amazing that maybe he has had offers and we just don't know about it. But he was the right man for the job when selected. Hired a season before to develop the program. I heard him speak at a coaches gathering in Chipley for I think it was spring sports coaches, or maybe it was winter sports coaches. But and that was a year before we even knew who he was, or
Yeah,
could
he
even spell his name.
Yeah, they started up. He started up the program over at Pembroke in North Carolina. Was there for 7 years. He got the program up and running, got it successful and into the playoffs. Then he moved on and took the West Florida job and started all over again. And I would have a hard time to see him go anywhere else after this program.
Well, you still got some growth over there. The stadium, certainly there could be more things added to the stadium, practice facilities.
Oh my gosh, their practice facilities are beautiful.
So a lot of things that I think on his to-do list is still very full.
Most definitely. And an up and rising, well, I can't really say up and rising program. They've got a national title and a national runner-up. And they're into the playoffs once again. I believe their fifth year. So they made the playoffs in 3 of 5 years. And can't really argue with that.
No, not at all.
But let's get over the season stats for the Raiders. And Hunter Feaster finishes off the season 116 of 213 for 1,741 yards. The 19 touchdown passes is second only to Sage Chambers as 20. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter breaks all of the touchdown passing records, as this young man's only a junior.
Yep.
He'll have a senior season coming back next year. And our leading rusher with 1,244 yards on 173 carries and 10 touchdowns. E.J. Love, folks, he's only a sophomore. And we have 3 other sophomores that can run the ball, too.
Most certainly. And I'd like to see us use those as kind of a change of pace type thing. Connor ran in EJ's absence and ran for close to 200 yards.
Could you see EJ moving possibly into a slot position as well? That's one thing that was one thing I was looking at this year, to maybe use him, put him out in the slot, because with his speed, that just would have been another weapon.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know what cornerback or most certainly any linebacker could cover him. Again, just a lot of different options to use him. Excuse me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Sorry, I apologize. We don't have a mute button, but
We are mute.
a lot of different ways to use him.
Most definitely. But and our leading receivers, Jaden Reese, 44 receptions, 725 yards, 12 touchdowns, only second to one Dante Wright. Brady got to meet Dante out at Colorado State this past weekend when he was out there for the Colorado State and Wyoming game, and got to see Grady play as well as his buddy from the starting punter from Wyoming. Had one heck of a night in those cold temperatures out there in Fort Collins. But Terrence Marshall on the season, 37, 634, 5 touchdowns, 3 kickoff returns for Terrence, 1 for EJ. Jaden led the team in scoring with 80 points. EJ right behind with 78. Taylor Gardner with 54. The Raiders averaged almost 30 points on the season, gave up a little under 25, and 42% on third down, 46 on fourth down. They were even up, 19 turnovers, 19 takeaways on the seasons, and 175 first downs. So you're looking at about 15 first downs a game.
Yeah, and that's something that they'll work on in the offseason is to limit those turnovers because the teams that we did turn it over certainly did take advantage of it on us, and good teams will do that. So something to work on in the offseason. Now, the Marshalls, what grades are they in?
They're going to be seniors next year.
Okay, so they'll be back.
They'll be back and hopefully healthy and ready to go. Tyrell got a little banged up there towards the end of the season, and hopefully we'll get back a healthy Xavier Hamilton and a healthy Philip Robas. And I mean, this could be a very exciting and entertaining 2023 season.
Yeah. So if everything remains the same, as far as Tallahassee schools, if we play Rickards again, they would have to come over to our place.
Correct. We would have to go over for the Leon game.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we're going to have at least one more trip. And if they do the home and home from this year, Mosley would have to come up over here. Then we would go to Niceville,
Right.
Milton, and Pace. And then Tate and Gulf Breeze would come to Navarre next year. So that takes up pretty much most of our schedule.
Almost, well, it is. 2 years ago, your core schedule could very well be that similar, and then you pick up, the fill-in games.
Either Fort Walton Beach or Choctaw, and I don't know if I want to play Choctaw right now. Wow, that
Coltab
and
what grade is he in?
he's a junior, as
How
well as their
about,
quarterback,
Their quarterback. Wow.
Jesse
So,
Winslet. What a game they had! Both those young men had last week. But the Navarre defense, Dwayne Clark led the way with 76 tackles. Always had 4 caused fumbles as well, and he blocked a couple of kicks. Dante Core, the sophomore, had a big season. He led the team in solos tackles with 56, 62 total tackles on the season, 68 for Andre Spence, 65 for Joshua Wilson, and 56 for Connor Black, 51 for Keona Moso. Trey Bragg with 45, Landon Mensler with 42, and the defense, the tackles were spread out. Not a whole lot of big numbers, but that showed each week that different men stepped up their game.
Sure did, and Dante Core.
Dante Core,
What grade is he in?
sophomore.
Dante Core's probably led the team in ouch hits.
Big hits with 10. Yeah, he had the big hits lead with 10 and also had the 39 extra bones, which means that little extra effort. So he led that by a large margin. Over the next nearest was Moso with 30. So a big season. And you know what really impressed me with Max Smith didn't come in until the Mosley game, the second half of the season, and he tied for the lead in quarterback hurries with 10 with Moso. And he had led the team lead in tackles for loss with 6. So imagine if we could have had him in the first half. Well, we got 4-1 in the first half. So the whole loss was to Pine Forest.
Yeah. Well, yep.
So we beat the teams this year we were supposed to, and we lost to the teams that we were supposed to. So
Correct.
So there's your defensive leaders on the season. Keona Moso, also your sack leader with 4.5 and fumble recoveries with 3. And Trey Bragg led the team in interceptions with 3. So there's your defensive stats. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break, and we'll be back with our Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings and our players of the week on Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Seminole Bob, Irish Bill, will be back after this word from our sponsors.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track, whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com. If you want to move better, feel better, and live better pain-free, Dr. Paul Britt at Integrative Chiropractic Solutions is the only certified sports chiropractor for Gulf Breeze and Navarre. He can address your sports injuries quickly and effectively, and after only 4 visits on average with a 96% resolution rate. So give Integrative Chiropractic Solutions a call today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer walking home from our house Christmas Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Santa, but as for me and Grandpa, we believe. She'd been drinking too much eggnog, and we begged her not to go. But she forgot her medication, and she staggered through the door out in the snow. When we found her Christmas morning at the scene of the attack, she had hoof prints on her forehead and incriminating claws marks on her back. Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Welcome back to Irishville's Twist on Sports. Kind of threw you for a loop there, huh, Bob?
Yeah. Speaking of up on the roof,
Yeah.
next month Santa will be up on the roof.
Most definitely. But since we're not going to be here around Christmas, I had to get at least one Christmas song in there before we do our sign off tonight for the final time here in 2022. But and that's always a classic. Grandma got run over by a reindeer. I was thinking of it as I was coming. What song am I going to play tonight different than I ever played? And that just kind of came because 94.1's already playing their Christmas music, so I had to chime right in.
That's true.
So let's go to our Super 7 Panhandle Power Rankings. A little bit of movement here in the upper class as Escambia moves up to the 4 spot, but Pine Forest stays at number 1, Niceville 2, Navarre 3. Escambia moves up to 4. Crestview moves up to number 5. Choctaw up to number 6, and Pace drops down to number 7. In our small classifications, West Florida, they're on top at 9-2. Catholic, actually they're 8-2. Catholic at 10-1. Northview 10-0. Chipley 10-0. Sneeds 10-0. Port St. Joe moves in up to number 6, and I can't leave Cottondale out after their big win over Osceola Christian last week.
That was a surprise. I think we all missed that.
Yeah, we did. I think I did. No, I think Joe got it right. Let me do a sneak
No,
peek.
he did
here.
pick Cottondale. You're right.
Yeah, Joe was the only one that picked Cottondale, as he calls himself, the pickmaster. We got the kicking wizard with Brady. Now we got the pickmaster with Joe Settle.
I got something you can pick.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, our offensive player of the week, he shared the honors last week with Jason Patterson. This week he's got it all to himself. Choctaw's Cole Tabb rushed for 291 yards on 37 carries and 2 touchdowns, and also hauled in 2 receptions for 64 yards and a score, and a 42-35 come-from-behind win on the road at St. Augustine. Cole Tabb, our offensive player of the week. Our defensive player of the week comes from Cottondale. That's Jason Harris. He produced 15 tackles and a 54-40 road victory over Osceola Christian. And all of these players played on the road last week, and they're our players of the week. And then we go down to our special teams player from Holmes County, Nash Ammons. Went 7 for 7 on his extra points and a 49-20 road victory over Freeport. So congratulations goes out to Cole, Jason, and Nash, our players of the week.
Most certainly.
And at the end, once the season's over, I will sit down with Bob and we'll discuss our players of the year in each of those categories, and our coach of the year, small school and large school.
Okay.
The great performances, and you'll be able to check those out on our Facebook page, Irish Bills Twist on Sports on Facebook, and also on my website on irishbillsports.com. I'll put a list of everybody. Another one that's kind of impressed me is the way he's been playing the second half of the season as one Jerome Brosnan, the quarterback over there at Crestview. 14-25 last week against Niceville for 296 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he also had a rushing touchdown in that upset win on the road at Niceville. Bluntstown's Jordan Pride, not a team known for their passing and their pass receptions, but Jordan Pride, 5 receptions, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns last week for Bluntstown, that 42-0 whitewash of a Weewa. Running backs, Jokarian Garrett, 228 yards from Cottondale. His running mate, Jamin Willis, also had 188 yards. Ooh. And the quarterback himself, Cameron Odom, went for 97 yards. So between the three of them, they had over 500 yards rushing last week in their win. Caleb Baker, another ho-hum night for Baker, 174 yards on 24 carries. Defense, Cottondale's Malachi Larson, 14 tackles. Crestview's Jalen Knox with 12. Navarre's Dwayne Clark with 12 as well. Bluntstown's Christian Martinez, 6 of 6 on extra points. Escambia's Matthew Mayerchuk, 6 for 6. Pine Forest Juan Fraga, 5 for 5. West Florida's Jackson Clark, 3 for 3. And Escambia's led Darian Clardy with a 75-yard punt return. So the list is going to keep getting smaller because we're getting fewer and fewer games, Bob.
Yep.
So as we break down, then before we get into our picks for this week, this year has there been? I don't think there's been really any surprise out of Navarre. We got pretty much what we expected out of our, maybe a little bit more. But is there any other teams that you think had stepped up this year and not normally a team that would have been up on top previously?
Step a game up. Choctaw.
They started out slow. They lost
Catholic.
some tight games.
They lost some tight games. Catholic, most certainly. Cottondale.
One team that kind of surprised me was Chipley. I can't remember them having a season they did with going 10-0 on the season. They're one of only two teams in Washington County, the other being Vernon, and they finished 10. We had three rural schools that finished 10-0. They don't have to play them each other in the regular season in the regions. They won't play each other until they get into the playoffs. So we could be seeing in this next round if both Chipley and Northview win this week, we'll be seeing a matchup of 11-0 teams there in week 3.
We may have to go see that one.
Yeah. Are you thinking about going out to a game this Friday, or are you going to be available?
Possibly, yeah.
There's
families out of town. They're camping.
There's some good ones. I mean, Catholic's going to be hosting Columbia.
Choctaw.
And Choctaw is going to be on the road at Pine Forest. That's going to be an outstanding game.
Scambia's hosting Columbia.
Scambia, that's correct.
Catholic is playing at Florida High.
At Florida High. And then West Florida's got to go all the way over to Sewanee, over to Live Oak for that contest there. But Sewanee playing really well. But once again, congratulations to our players of the week, Cole Tabb, Jason Harris, Nash Ammons. Pine Forest, they took the seat at the top, and they have yet to relinquish it, and I don't see them relinquishing it anytime soon.
Nope.
But we'll guarantee that Choctaw will give them all that they want.
Oh,
Probably be their toughest game all season.
Could be.
So there's your power rankings and your players of the week, and now it's time to get over to our picks of the week. Joe, we're going to add one game, so if you want to go ahead and think about this game and the college games, I can't believe I left off Boston College at Notre Dame. So we're going to add that to the college picks, so add that to your schedule, Boston College at Notre Dame. I know who you're probably going to take, but we'll get to that game a little bit later.
You think the Catholic team's going to win in that game?
Yeah, I do.
BC.
Boston College, we can go way back, and after Notre Dame had knocked off Florida State, looking very good for a national title, the next week Boston College comes to town and knocks them off.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, but we'll get to the college games in just a second. We're going to go over high school games first. We've got Creekside, the team that we saw last week, 9-2, heading over to number 1 team in the state in Class 4, S. Bartram Trail, 11-0. A matchup of teams separated by 6 miles.
And they played each other.
And it was not close the first time.
I have a feeling Bartram Trail is going to throw on Creekside. I think you can throw on Creekside. I've got Bartram Trail winning this game.
All three of us going with the home team in that one. Crestview going to Buchholz. I mean, Pace almost knocks Buchholz off last week. My upset of the week, I'm going with Crestview Bulldogs on the road at Gainesville Buchholz.
Make that 2.
Joe going with the home team there, the Buchholz. Next, we're going to head over to probably the number 1 team in the state, one of the top teams. Mitchell, fresh off another win on the road last week, and they took out Springstead. Both the Springstead's losses this year were to Mitchell at home. And but they're going to be facing off with Lakeland, who's 10-0 on the season. Joe and I going with the home team in that one, Lakeland.
Lakeland? Are they the Dreadnoughts?
They're the Dreadnoughts.
Going with Lakeland to go 11-0.
Winter Haven 8-3, upset victory last week in week 1 on the road. Now this week they get to go to 9-1 Lake Minneola. I'm going with Lake Minneola in this one, as is Joe.
Me too.
Head over to Pine Forest, Choctaw 6-5. Don't let that record deceive you. they are every bit and well deserved to be where they are at on the season.
Right.
But they're going to face off one of the best public schools in the state of Florida, the Pine Forest Eagles. Joe and I going with the home team in this one.
Potential for a high-scoring game. I think it is going to be very close, but I'm going to go with the Eagles in that contest.
Let's head over to Escambia High. I went back and forth on this one. I really like that Columbia team. They're 7-3, but I am going to go with the Gators in this one at home after fresh off that 42-18 win over Middleburg. Joe's going with the Gators at home.
I'm going with an upset, Columbia.
You just didn't want to pick another Gators team, did you? You've been picking the Gators for, it seems like, all season long.
It's getting close to the Gator time and next week there, Bill.
I know. Friday night game next week, right? The day after Thanksgiving?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So Vanguard 8-3 heading over to Lake Wales. Lake Wales pretty solid as well. They're 11-0 on the season. Joe and I going with the home team in that one.
Lake Wales for me.
Lecanto 8-3 heading over to Zephyr Hills, starting to get into some areas where I don't know a lot. So I looked at both of their schedules, and I ended up going with the home team in this one.
Going with Zephyr Hills Water.
All three of us going with Zephyr Hills. Pensacola Catholic heading over to Tallahassee, 10-1 against 11-0. Should be one heck of a ball game. But Joe and I are going to go with the Knolls at home.
Yeah, Catholics had a great season, but they may not have faced as much speed as they had in Florida High. I'm going with the Knolls here.
We'll be rooting for you, Catholic, but just don't think you'll have quite enough. West Florida traveling down I-10 over to Live Oak to face Swanee, who's really turned it on in the second half. They're 9-2 on the season, and I'm going with another upset here. I'm going with the Jaguars on the road.
As am I, Bill. Great minds think alike.
Joe going with Swanee. And next we're going to head over back to Tallahassee, North Florida Christian, 10-0 on the season, hosting crosstown foe McClay. And Joe and I going with North Florida Christian to stay unbeaten.
Oh, it's not going to be close.
Monroe 4-6 heading over to St. John Paul II. Joe and I going with St. John Paul.
Going with St. John Paul as well to go 8-2.
Holmes County 7-4 heading over to Bratt, Florida to take on Northview. Northview 10-0, and my pick to win state in Class 1R.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Holmes County will give them a game now. They're not just going to lay down. But I think the Chiefs get it done.
This next game should be interesting. 8-3 Baker heading over to Chipley, 10-0 on the season. But I think Chipley's got just a little too much for Baker this year, a very young Baker team.
Baker has improved as the season has gone on, but I've got the Tigers winning to go 11-0.
Not going to get the Tiger by the tail on that one.
No.
Cottondale 8-3, putting up a lot of points, heading to Sneeds. They're going to need to put up a lot of points against Sneeds. Sneeds has scored over 70 twice this year, and I look for this game to be a shootout in Sneeds.
Yep. Going with Sneeds for the win.
Bluntstown, after a 42-0 win over Weewall last week, I went back and forth on this game. Port St. Joe beat him earlier in the season. It wasn't really close. Joe going with Bluntstown on the road. I'm going with Port St. Joe at home.
I'm going with Port St. Joe at home.
Next, we had a Madison County 4-6, always in the playoffs, but they're facing a very strong Union County team. And Joe and I going with the home team, Union County, in this one.
Union County's got a great history, Bill, of going deep in the playoffs, championships. Used to be them and Baker fighting it out every year. I'm going with the home team, Union County.
All of us going with Union County. Next, we have Lafayette heading over to Hilliard. I think Lafayette's just got a little bit too much. Joe and I going with the road team in this one.
As am I.
Wildwood 8-2 heading over to Hawthorne. Great program led by former. I know I asked this last week, and you're going to have to remind me once again. we'll get to you in just a second, Joe. You're going to have to remind me once again who the former tight end. I believe it's Ike Hilliard.
Yeah.
The former tight end at Florida is the head coach at Hawthorne.
Okay.
So I went to their game 2 years ago when they got beat by Baker in the state championship game. I think they made it back last year as well. I'm going to go with the home team Hawthorne, undefeated on the season against Wildwood.
I'm going with Hawthorne as well.
Chiefland, a storied program as well, 7-2, facing another storied program, Pahokee.
Good Lord.
Who's 8-2. That's going to be one heck of a game.
I think so too. I've got the home team winning this one to get to 10 wins.
Joe said he graduated from Lake Wales, so we're picking. You didn't, and he didn't pick against his team. So like he's picked against Niceville a couple times. I got to remind him of that he picked against Niceville a couple of times this year, and he lost both of them.
Yep.
Now, how about that pick wizard?
Pick wizard.
We got Kicking Wizard and Pick Wizard. You got a new nickname there, Joe, Pick Wizard. So you're going to have to tune in. Well, you're going to have to follow us on Facebook Live and IrishBillSports.com because this is our final show of the 2022 high school football season. And where we stand now is Joe is comfortably out on top. But last week he went 17-3. Bob went 16-4. And I brought up the rear at 14-6. On the season, Joe 251-69, 5 games back, and then 4 games behind me is Bob. So we got some games to make up on Joe, Bob. I don't know if we'll be able to catch him. What do you think?
I don't think so.
I don't either. Well, let's move over to our college picks, and of course, Joe won that too. Joe went 19-9 last week. We all struggled a little bit last week.
A lot of surprises last week.
I went 18-10. Bob went 17-11 on the season. Joe's got 232-74, and 75%, almost 76%. Bob, you're 230-76, a couple of games back. Now I'm 2 games behind you at 228-78 on the season. And let's go over our picks, our college picks, and let's go ahead and start off with that Boston College at Notre Dame game. Mm-hmm. And Notre Dame, I about had a heart attack in that second half last week against Navy. Played probably our best half of the year in the first half, and then the second half they just laid an egg. 12 yards of offense, gave up 6 sacks to Navy's front 7 in the second half last week, and Navy almost came back from a 22-point deficit. Notre Dame held on. Gosh, I was ready to throw the remote out into the backyard. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame in this one at home against Boston College.
I'll go with the Catholics. And Joe says ND Big.
Okay, there we go. We'll start off with that one. Now we've got a Thursday night game. We got Shmoo heading over to Nollins to take on a very tough Tulane team.
Yep.
Joe and I going with the home team in this one, Tulane.
Tulane favored by 3.5. 6-4 and 8-2. So I'm going to go with the Green Wave.
Next, we'll head over to Friday night. South Florida, the Bulls heading up to Oklahoma to take on Tulsa, the Golden Hurricanes. Mm-hmm. And Joe and I going with the home team, Tulsa, in this one.
Tulsa favored by 13.5. Both teams. If you're watching that game, you're a die-hard Bulls fan, or a Golden Hurricane fan. South Florida 1-9, Tulsa 3-7. I think Tulsa wins and covers.
South Florida led by one of their panhandles, K'Wan Powell from Vernon High School, running back there at South Florida. Let's head over to Saturday. Navy heading to UCF, and it will not be close as it was last week against Notre Dame. UCF should run away with this one.
UCF favored by 16.5. They lead the AAC conference.
They knocked off Tulane last week, did they not?
Yeah, I'm a UCF believer now. That's one of the many 11 a.m. kicks.
Now, you don't hear these words coming out of my mouth very often, but the bowl-bound Yukon Huskies at 6-5 after they upset Liberty last week. They'll be going on the road to West Point to take on Army. Joe going with Army. I'm going with Yukon to garner their sixth victory. Actually, their seventh victory on the season.
Army's favored by 10. I
don't see it.
Vegas must know something we don't. Army's 3-6. Yukon 6-5. Unless they think perhaps Yukon is going to be coming off that emotional high.
What a job by Coach Jim Mora Jr. in his first year at Yukon.
I've got Yukon winning this game.
Next, we're going to head over to
Tallahassee bound. Seminoles, 11 a.m. kick.
Facing Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns.
Raging Cajuns. They're not
not bad.
5-5. Seminoles 7-3.
Would you think that they'd be going for their 8th win?
No. Absolutely. And they play Florida next week. 9 wins.
It's very likely.
I don't know. Florida State's favored in this 11 a.m. kick by 23.5. I think the Noles win, but they don't cover.
Interesting. Illinois heading up to the Big House to take on Michigan. Illinois is kind of faltering here in the second half of the season, and I look for Michigan to run all over them.
Spread 17.5. I was kind of surprised at that. Illinois 7-3, as you mentioned. Michigan better not be looking ahead.
Looking ahead to who? Who they got? Who they got?
Ohio State.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Didn't even know that.
The team from
CBus
down south. I've got Big Blue winning.
Next, we're going to head over to Rutgers, where Penn State's going to go over to New Jersey for this game. Joe and I going with Penn State on the road.
Look out for Rutgers. They're 4-6, but they've won some big games. This is a 2:30 start. Penn State's favored by 19.5. I see Penn State. James Franklin's done a pretty good job at Penn State this year.
Indeed. You're going to go with the Nittany Lions there, Joe?
Bob.
Penn
State.
Joe already went with
Penn State.
Okay. All three of us going with Penn State. Austin Peay.
The Governors.
Do you know where that's at? They're from Tennessee. I always thought they were from Texas. I don't know why.
Yeah, Austin. They're the Governors.
I believe they're out. Are they the ones out of Clarksville?
Could be. I'm not sure.
Clarksville, Tennessee. They're going to Tuscaloosa.
They're not taking the last train either.
Do we even need to talk about that game now? All three Alabama.
Yeah, all three Alabama.
But the next game we need to talk about.
Yeah.
TCU heading to Baylor.
Can I finish on Alabama real quick?
You can go for it. I know. I let you do the research so you can talk about it a little bit.
Austin Peay, 7-3, has not faced a Power 5 school this year. Their only loss to an FBS, the only game against an FBS school was to Western Kentucky, and they lost by 11. So,
and Western
Austin
Kentucky is also facing another team from Alabama this week, but that's a little bit later on our picks.
Yep.
Now we're going to head down to Waco, Texas, where the undefeated TCU Green Frogs, Horned Frogs.
Horned Frogs.
Now, that's Mean Green up in Texas State. I got it mixed up there.
North Texas.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Heading to Baylor.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to stay unbeaten. So Joe thinks that way, too. What about you?
I've got TCU winning. TCU 10-0. Baylor 6-4. Only a 2.5-point spread. That's one of your early ball games, 11 a.m. A lot of games. Boy, you'll be hitting those buttons unless you have a fancy TV. A lot of good games at 11 a.m. I've got TCU winning this one.
Okay, we're all going with the road team. Next, we got Wisconsin heading to Nebraska. Fresh off the whoever scores first wins the game last week against Iowa. And Iowa took that one. Joe and I going with the road team, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin 5-5, Nebraska 3-7. Another 11 a.m. kick. The Badgers are favored by 12.5. Yeah, I think they'll cover that and take their frustrations on what was thought to be a very promising season out on the Cornhuskers.
No such thing. Florida heading off to
Vanderbilt.
They need to win another game for it to be a winning streak, but I don't think they're going to do it as Florida goes into Nashville to take on Vanderbilt this weekend. Joe and I going with the Gators on the road, playing really good defense of late.
Gators are 6-4 on the season. Vanderbilt 4-6. Florida favored by 14.5. Florida cannot look ahead to Florida State whatsoever. Vanderbilt beat a pretty good Kentucky team last week.
Now, was Kentucky looking ahead to Georgia this week?
Yep, I think they were. This is also another 11 a.m. start.
Wow, a lot of 11 o'clock games. Next, Kansas State, a team that we have kind of went against and went for this year, but they're going on the road to West Virginia, fresh off a last-second field goal, 23-20 victory over Oklahoma last week. Joe and I going with Kansas State on the road.
Kansas State 7-3, West Virginia 4-6. I did not catch the spread on this. K-State is they're like complete opposites in this game. K-State in the top 10 in passing in the country, and West Virginia in the top 25 in the country in running. But I think K-State was going to have a little bit more than West Virginia.
Let's see if I can pull up the spread here real quick, Bob. As we got our next game coming up is Miami of Florida at Clemson. It's been just a dumpster fire for the U this year, and I think Clemson will roll all over Miami of Florida this weekend. So does Joe.
Clemson's favored by 19.5. Clemson 9-1, winning last week. Miami 5-5. 2:30 kick. I've got the Tigers winning this game handily.
Just trying to look here. It's a 2:30 kick. Yeah, 19-point spread. You got it. All three going with Clemson. Next, we got NC State, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde this year.
I can't figure them out.
Heading to Louisville. Joe and I going with the Cardinals at home.
North Carolina 7-3, Louisville 6-4. Louisville is favored in this game by 4.5. It's another 2:30 kick. I'm going with the Cardinals.
Clean sweep there. Oregon State, the Beavers go into Arizona to take on Arizona State.
Oregon 7-3 on the year. Oregon State 7-3 on the year. Arizona State 3-7. The Beavers favored by 7.5. This is a 1:15 p.m. kick.
Mountain time?
Must be.
That's going to be an early game.
I've got the Beavers winning.
All three of us going with the Beavers on the road. Ohio State heading to Maryland. Will not look ahead, and they will destroy the Terrapins.
Ohio State 10-0, Maryland 6-4, pretty good season. Ohio State favored Bill by 27.5.
Ouch.
2:30 kick, going with the Buckeyes.
Okay. No surprise there. Texas heading to Kansas. I went back and forth on this game. The Jayhawks have had an excellent season for being a Jayhawk. They're both 6-4, but Texas 9-point favorites in this one, Bob.
Yeah, 9.5 early in the week. 2:30 kick. I've got Texas winning but not covering.
Sounds like a plan there. Western Kentucky led by Austin Reed, former University of West Florida Argonaut and St. Augustine Yellow Jacket. Now his senior season at Western Kentucky, and he heads down to the Plains.
Heads down to the Plains. Western Kentucky, 7-4. Auburn, I'm not sure what their record is.
And he is on the short list for the Davy O'Brien Award.
He should be. He has 31 touchdowns this year, Bill, 7 picks.
Nice.
Averaging 322 yards a game, 7th in the country.
Nice.
Passing. So I've got Western Kentucky winning this game.
Nice. Bob with the upset. Joe and I going with the home team there.
Is it an upset?
We will find out. Georgia Tech heading over to the Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina. And North Carolina quietly still only one loss on the season.
9-1. They lost to the Catholics.
Yep, Notre Dame at home.
Georgia Tech 4-6 on the year. Bill mentioned North Carolina 9-1. The Tar Heels favored by 21, Bill. And this is a 4:30 kick. I'm going with the Tar Heels.
I think they will cover that spread too. Tennessee, fresh off throwing up a 66 spot on Missouri, will have no mercy at South Carolina. I look for the Volunteers to win big in this one. So does Joe.
6 p.m. Start. South Carolina, quiet 6-4 this year. Tennessee, of course, 9-1. Tennessee favored by 21.5, and I agree. I think they'll cover easily.
And next we're going to head over to Arkansas. Ole Miss at Arkansas. Ole Miss played Bama tough last week, and I look for them to rebound this week at Arkansas. So does Joe.
This is a 6:30 kick. Arkansas 6-4. Or excuse me, Arkansas is 5-5. Ole Miss 8-2. Ole Miss only favored by 2.5. Bill.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I'm going with Hotty Toddy on this 6:30 p.m. kick.
All three of us going with Ole Miss. Let's head over to Oklahoma for the Oklahoma State at Oklahoma battle.
It's called the Bedlam.
Bedlam. That's a great name for a series, a rivalry game. Oklahoma favored by 7. The last I checked, 7.5.
Yep.
And even though Oklahoma State's the number 22 ranked team, I'm going with the Sooners at home.
6:30 kick on ABC or ESPN. The Sooners lead the all-time series, 90 wins, 19 losses, and 7 draws.
That's pretty spacious.
Yes, it is. I'm going with the Mulleteers on
You're
the road.
going with Oklahoma State in the
surprise.
upset.
Well,
or is it?
Oklahoma's been giving up a lot of points.
Next, we're going to head over to Wake Forest at Durham, North Carolina. And they'll host Syracuse. Started out great, but sort of like fireworks, they fizzle out in the end.
Really?
Without a bang.
I like that. Whoa. Wake Forest favored by 10. Syracuse lost their quarterback thanks to Florida State. This is a 7 p.m. kick, probably on the ACC network. I've got Wake Fungus Among Us winning this game.
Wake me up, Forest, in that one for me and Joe. UCLA hosting USC, the Battle of L.A. And USC, what's the spread there, Joe?
Bob?
I was asking Joe.
Oh, Joe.
No, I'm sorry, Bob.
1.5.
Why do I always do that?
Nice guy. USC 9-1. As we mentioned, the spread's 1.5. 7 p.m. kick. Do you think Vegas knows something? The over is 75.5.
That first half?
Yeah, really. I've got USC winning this.
So did Joe and I. We're both going, all three of us going with USC. In the battle of acronyms, UAB at LSU.
Yep. UAB 5-5. LSU 8-2. They're favored by 14.5. And one of the it's an 8 p.m. game. So the Baton Rouges, the Cajuns,
that's gonna be
whoever goes to the game.
That's going to be a rowdy night.
All my rowdy friends.
They're coming over. And a 14.5-point favorite. I thought that's a little small margin.
Yeah, I mean, UAB has, I think they
The
lost
Blazers.
to Troy. Yeah, the Blazers. But, yeah, I got LSU winning handily.
And we got Colorado heading to Washington. Shouldn't be much of a ball game there.
Colorado 1-9. I didn't get the spread.
31.
31. Washington 8-2. Late night games when you're all tired of watching the 11s, the 2:30s, and the 6 p.m.s. You can watch the second half of
Pac-12 after dark.
Pac-12 after dark. I've got the Huskies winning at
And
home.
then we finish up with a good one, Utah on the road at Oregon.
The Utes go to Oregon. Oregon's quietly becoming a very good team.
Bo Nix, what a year.
Yep, he has.
They lose a tough one last week against Washington, but I look for them to rebound this week against Utah.
Favored by 3.5. I believe it's another 8 p.m. kick. Oregon gets their 9th win of the season.
Yeah. So there's your college picks. And like I said, Joe leading both college and high school. Good on you there, picking wizard. He's asking, hey, Joe said, Coach O must have went through the drive-through this week.
Hey, Bill.
Wait, no, there he is.
Hey,
Joe.
I just went through drive-through.
Why you came inside though, Coach?
Well, they forgot my straw for my Red Bull.
They forgot your straw. You use a straw with your Red Bull?
Yes, all us Renaissance mans do that.
Does that give you a little bit more of a rush? Not that you need a rush, Coach.
Bill, I'm sorry to hear about your Raiders.
It happens, Coach. You know, you win some, you lose some.
Well, since you're a supporter of Notre Dame, you're kind of used to that, huh?
That's a good one, Coach.
But, for college football is winding down.
Yeah, it is.
We don't got too many more games left. We got
Week 11 coming up.
Yeah.
Can you count to 11 without taking off your shoes?
Hey, watch it there. We got these Blazers coming in, and
You wear nice Blazers jackets?
Yeah, well, I didn't own one, or at least my ex-wife made me wear one. But those Cajuns gonna be how they say in Baton Rouge. We're gonna eat some couscous and
have a good old time.
Oh yeah,
Let the good times roll.
Oh man, they're gonna be happy before they come into the stadium. But Bill, I'm gonna miss seeing you and nose picker wizard. What's his name? Pick Wizard. That's what.
Yeah,
it is.
the Pick Wizard, Joe.
Pick Wizard. Yeah, that's.
Joe would venture out here one of these Wednesday nights next year for one of our weeks, so we can alternate and have him meet you, Coach. I don't think you've ever met Joe.
No, but I hear he pulls a mean chain on the chain gang at Eagle Stadium.
Yeah. You just get around. You know everything that's going on, don't you, Coach?
Well, everything except what my ex-wife was doing. But, Bill, I lived part of the time up in what's the name of that? Oh, it's Destin. I lived part of the time in Destin, and I may see you. I may come down and see you and have a Red Bull with you.
I appreciate that, Coach.
Oh man, they got blueberry now.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Blueberry Red Bull. That just doesn't sound very good.
Yeah, it's about as good as
that young blonde filly that you're with.
Oh, I've got me a brunette now. So.
Brunette. Okay, Coach.
Hey, listen, that brunette or redhead or whatever color she's wearing today.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Well, to her it does. Well, we're going to mosey on down back to Destin. And we'll see you down the road. And all I can say is, go Tigers.
I appreciate you stopping by again, Coach. And he didn't even wait for me to say goodbye, and he's already out the door. Did you run into Coach O, Bob?
I did, literally. He had some blueberry Red Bull.
He was pinging, wasn't he?
You know, people actually ruin mixed drinks with that. I know you're not much of a mixed drink connoisseur much anymore, but vodka and cranberry Red Bull supposedly is like, what a waste of good vodka. But
I agree. Well, let's head over to the Gulf South Conference as they get ready to start the playoffs in D2 this weekend.
Yeah.
And Delta State and West Florida tied for the top spot at 6-1. West Georgia came in at second two, but they're the only two teams that made the playoffs out of the Gulf South Conference. Yeah, playoffs. But anyways, last week's results is they had a comeback game after they played each other earlier in the season.
Right.
West Georgia took out North Greenville 43-36. A late field goal for Valdosta State as they came back and beat Shorter 30-28. A 2 and a 3-point game for Valdosta State over Shorter. Is Shorter improving, or did Valdosta have a down year?
both.
I agree. Delta State finishes, like I said, 10-1 on the season. They're 17-7 winners over West Alabama and West Florida, all over Mississippi College, 56-21. This week, West Florida will be hosting Limestone out on the UWF campus for their first time ever.
Limestone.
I am not sure where Limestone is at.
Well, it's in the ground, but
Well, I think they're out of North Carolina.
okay.
That's
That
what I'm
makes sense.
thinking.
Yep.
Then Delta State will be hosting in Fayetteville State over in Cleveland, Mississippi. It's a long haul from here, and it's a long haul from anywhere.
Yeah, well, that's true.
But those are your Gulf South Conference. And the number one team in that region, get this, it happens to be a SIAC team. Benedict finishes the regular season and takes the SIAC Conference Championship over Tuskegee last week, 58-21. They are the number one seed in the region with West Florida and Delta State.
Limestone and Gaffney, South Carolina.
South Carolina, okay. I was off a state. And but Benedict finishes 11-0, 6-0 in conference. They're the only team that makes the playoffs. Usually not a whole lot of teams make it out of the SIAC Conference. And good luck to Benedict as they go on. They get a bye this week, being the number one seed, and they will host the winner. And see if I can pull that up here real quick. They're off this week. They are the one seed, so they will face the winner of the because the winner of the West Florida Limestone game and Delta State, they play each other next week. So I'm trying to figure out who. Get the SIAC. I got it here. You love on-air production, don't you?
Yeah.
Let's go down to the end of the schedule. Love technology. They don't have it posted yet, but they'll be hosting the winner of the 4 and 5 seeds there in Region 2, I believe. But those should be great games as well. And I'm going to post. Haven't been talking much about our the former Navarre Raiders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post how everybody's doing on my Facebook page and out on my IrishBillsSports.com. And we're going to go off. And Joe says, "Well wishes, brothers. Another great season. Thank you, Joe. We always appreciate you coming aboard with us and making us look bad every week, picking games and."
True that, and helping us on the camera when he had a.
Most definitely, we appreciate Joe and all that he does with us, and our Wednesday nights and occasional Friday night. But
he had one of the best seats in the house that Niceville game.
Most definitely, and it was a big win there for the Eagles. But as we wind down here, the last show of the 2022 season, really not a rant. If you just want to have some parting words, Bob, before we head on out the door.
I just appreciate all the fans that watch us on Wednesdays and in the playoffs and the regular season. Playoffs. We had, I started listening on the drive home, a part of the Creekside game, and you listing all of the listeners, what states they were from. That was just so mesmerizing. New York and Connecticut and North Dakota and Kansas and Arizona and Australia and all over the country, Idaho and Tennessee and Alabama, all parts of Florida, the former Raiders who tuned in and week out, Crazy Legs Robinson, Dusty Jones, and others.
Lemmy Wilson. I mean, we're probably going to miss a few there. Derek Percival, catching that Friday night game before his Saturday games down at Weber International.
Yeah,
and our former coaches, Coach Greenhaw up in Tennessee, Coach O'Connor up in Wisconsin.
Coach Adams.
Coach Adams over on the East Coast.
Yep.
You see it? He responded to one of my texts and says when he retires, he wants to come back and put a drone together for us, and so he can have doing drones at all the games. He said he'd be my permanent camera and drone guy.
Drone guy.
I told him he's hired for the same amount of pay that you're getting.
All right.
Can't beat that, can you?
Not with a stick, no.
But, I mean, I looked at the viewers at one time on Friday night. We had over 1,300 active viewers. We had a little communication scuffle going on with the live chat. But
went sideways. But and we had Creekside fans tuning in.
And you know what? I even got a post on my Facebook page from Creekside fans the next day thanking us for doing the game, because a lot of them, just like here, a lot of their fans couldn't make it, 5.5 hours away. But we were getting fans from all over the country for them as well.
Right.
And I got to meet Noah, their young man that does the play-by-play for Creekside. He was only able to do an audio broadcast. So, no, I'm sorry if I took listeners away from you on Friday night, but video sometimes kind of trumps audio at times.
Oh, they may have turned on the volume and listened to him and watched the video, but except there was it's a delay.
A little bit of a delay, so
Yeah.
you got to get the timing down and everything.
Timing.
Yeah. But once again, I want to thank athletic director Scott Murphy.
Most definitely.
Head coach Jay Walls, all the coaching staff. But my biggest heartfelt goes out to the Moms Club and the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club. Stepped up last week, as they always do when we get to the playoffs. Unfortunately, FHSA likes to gouge the small business people during the playoffs. But they stepped up and took care of the majority of our bill last week, and they stepped up as a sponsor once again. They don't have to, but they do, and I'm very appreciative of our Raider Quarterback Club and all of our sponsors. Culver's right here where we do our Wednesday night show. Ursula Householder, thank you, Ursula. Ursula has been with me, I think, about 8 or 9 years now. Their son graduated back in 2012, or 11. Was it 11? I think it was 2011. And so she doesn't have to. They don't have to stay with us, but they do. Caldwell Bankers, Ursula Householder, my lovely bride, Brenda Kate with Express Employment Professionals, about 4 years running now. University Lending Groups, Stacy Wright and Jennifer Gomes. They've been with me about 8 or 9 years as well. And hopefully we can get Dr. Paul Britt back next year, Integrative Chiropractic Solutions. I ran into him the other day and at the Memorial Celebration of Life service for one Dan Bucky Buccella, former Pensacola Ice Flyer. That lost his battle with leukemia, I believe. And so I ran into him last week. So hopefully we can get him back next year. And if you'd like to sponsor with IrishBillSports.com next year, let me know. If you want a special sponsor, like, say, our First Downs or anything like that, or our weather report or anything like that, let me know.
We'll work with you, man.
We're always looking for new sponsors, and but one thing we do believe in is quality over quantity. Always have, always will, but that doesn't mean that we won't be able to bring you in, and we always love our new sponsors as well.
And free.
Yeah.
We don't charge anything.
We don't charge our viewers anything during the regular season, and if they want to make a donation during the playoffs, they don't have to, but we appreciate anything from $1 to whatever. We don't care, and but we appreciate all of our viewers because if you weren't out there, we'd just be sitting here talking to ourselves.
Talking to ourselves, and save your money up, because I have a feeling next year, Navarre, Bill and I, we're going to be
going deep.
Could be going deep into the playoffs.
Most definitely.
The sun is very bright. I think it'll shine very bright on Navarre next year. Just all those things that happen to all football teams: injuries, weather, gosh forbid, COVID. Those things you can't plan on. But I think next year could be one of Navarre's best years ever, Bill.
I agree, and we want to send our heartfelt wishes out to all seniors as they played their last game at Navarre High. Thank you for your 4 years of commitment to the Raider program, and we wish you all the best as you move forward in your lives. And
very proud of you. Continue. Good luck with your studies. I hope Coach Walls, and I know he has, instilled in you that you're a student first, student athlete, not the other way around, and that just a small percentage of those blessed ones get to go to the next level. So, do your work.
It's possible. I mean, look, we've had two guys in the NFL, Jordan Leggett, Michael Carter, still playing with the Jets. Who knows who else is going to follow their footsteps? I wouldn't be surprised if Dante Wright follows those footsteps as well. Mm-hmm. But future is bright and always been bright for this Raider program. And before we head out, I know we're out before the holidays, but I want to wish each and every one of yours out there a very happy Thanksgiving, a very, very Merry Christmas, and a very, very prosperous New Year as we finish out here in 2022. This is Irish Bill with Irish Bill's Twist on Sports with Seminole Bob, the Florida State guy. Good luck this week, Bob.
Listen, anything can happen. We got the Gators in 2 weeks, so.
And may the wind ever be at your back, and may you remain dry and stay warm over these colder days of Thanksgiving and Christmas. But think of your loved ones, be with your loved ones, and until next year in 2023, this is Irish Bill signing off.
Good night, Navarre, and God bless.
When this